Coming up,
the Instagram beadwork community have received so much support. It's really a beautiful thing that I love to see.
Tayler Gutierrez, the beauty and inspiration behind her Cherokee beadwork and how she's adapting to a modern online community. And
trying to just adapt to different mediums that can communicate with collectors or even educate others who may not be familiar with our heritage or culture in a contemporary way.
Award-winning artist Bryan Waytula is a master in more than one medium. Learn how he uses his art to educate others about Cherokee history. Plus,
I was always wishing I had a coach that could have helped me in high school. And so I'm here to help you. And yes, it's not easy and it's hard, but you gotta be willing to do it.
Join us on the track with Sam Horsechief as he shares a life story that he says he didn't write, but put him in the exact place he needed to be. And
today he would be considered a brilliant linguist and a diplomat. He spoke more dialects of the Plains tribes than anybody else.
Learn about famous Cherokee trader Jesse Chisholm and how his unusual skills helped create the historic Chisholm Trail.
The Cherokees.
A thriving American Indian tribe.
Our history.
Our culture. Our people.
Our future.
The principles of a historic nation.
Sewn into the fabric of a modern world.
Hundreds of thousands strong. Learning, growing,
succeeding,
and steadfast.
In the past, we have persevered through struggle.
But the future is ours to write.
Osiyo.
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 These are the voices of the Cherokee people.
Osiyo, I'm Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. Welcome to Tahlequah, Oklahoma, capital city of the Cherokee Nation. For generations, the Cherokee story has been told by others. Today, through this groundbreaking series, we're taking ownership of our own story and telling it as beautifully and authentically as we can. I hope you enjoy these profiles of our people, our language, our history, and our culture. And please make plans to come visit us sometime. Wado.
Osiyo, it's how we say hello in Cherokee. I'm your host, Jennifer Lauren, at the Fort Gibson Historic Site in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, where you can learn more about how this site was used as a trading post in the Cherokee Nation. We'll have more on this a little bit later in our Cherokee Almanac. The art of beadworking has been an honored Cherokee tradition for hundreds of years, and today takes on many different forms depending on the vision of each individual artist. Tayler Gutierrez is an up-and-coming Cherokee beadwork artist who combines unique colors and inspiration to create one-of-a-kind designs.
Color-wise, I'm really just inspired by the world around me. Color can inspire us to feel things. I think that that's something fun about my beadwork is that I just let my imagination run wild. I am Tayler Gutierrez, and I am a beader. Right now, Kamama Beadwork is still really small. It's just me. I do everything from the creation of the art to the marketing to the packaging. Yeah, that's perfect. Kamama is the Cherokee word for butterfly. I've always just had an affinity for them because they start as a little caterpillar and then they build their own cocoon and then they transform into something so immaculate. And throughout all of our lives, we're constantly growing and hoping to become better than we were the day before. And so that really connects to my beadwork because it's always growing and transforming. And every step of the process is beautiful. I was born in Washington State in the Pacific Northwest. I grew up a little bit on Camino Island, a little bit throughout the Skagit Valley there. It's one of the most beautiful places. I'm really grateful that I got to grow up there. As someone who didn't grow up in community, I expect a lot of myself. Like, I expect to educate myself and learn and give back. There's energy between me and my work. It's not just beads that I'm working with, it's not just thread, it's not just a needle. And so I always try and put the best energy that I can into the things that I do, because that'll come back around to me. It's also fun to mesh the past and the present and bring it together and create something that's modern and relative to people today. I bead hats, earrings, cuff bracelets, hat bands, necklaces. I do powwow regalia, moccasins. And if I can get a bead onto it, like, I'll probably try to bead it. I would describe beading as if you've ever pulled weeds from a garden and then you do the whole thing and you stand and you look at your garden, and it's just so satisfying, so meditative. And so looking at the finishing product is pretty much the best step is when it's all done. Social media is, it's how I sell my work. It's how I feed myself. The Instagram beadwork community is incredible. I have received so much support from fellow beaders, just amazing Indigenous artists from all across the United States and in Canada. It's really a beautiful thing. I love to see photos of my work next to each other, and I can go back a year from now and really see how I've grown and how my style has changed and evolved over time. It's also a way for me to try and do some activist work. I really like to talk on my Instagram about matters that are important to me and hopefully use my platform in a positive way. Kamama Beadwork has brought me just amazing opportunities. I worked in the Be Yellowtail Collective. I still can't believe it. And I was featured in the New York Times. It was just a huge blessing. And I never thought that would be me. I love it. I hope that I can, continue to become better at my craft. Hopefully I can make a difference with it. And I would really love to be able to teach others about beadwork and or just to inspire someone to follow their heart.
It's a little slow camera, so you gotta be slow.
Gosh, sometimes I feel undeserving, but then I look at my little sisters and kind of get emotional. So to see that I've been able to make them proud and be something of a voice for those young kids that grew up in really small towns that never thought they would be anything, that never thought they could actually really do something that they love and make a difference, hopefully has meant the absolute world to me.
Here in the Cherokee Nation, we believe in passing our knowledge down to the next generation. Bryan Waytula has been the recipient of a lot of cultural knowledge as it's been passed down through generations of Cherokee artists in his family. As you'll see, today his family's intergenerational influence is thriving.
I work in a lot of the classical mediums, charcoal, graphite, painting, acrylics mainly. But then I started to extend those into more mixed medias. I know there's artists that like to work in just one style of medium, and they have their own particular style. For lack of a better word, I get bored. I've got a couple things that I'll try and do in my artworks. Growing up, you had Oklahoma history, which taught about the land run. You didn't get too much of the Indian Removal Act and Trail of Tears and where I came from. A lot of people don't know our side of it, our history. And so a lot of my work becomes somewhat educational. Osiyo Nagata, Dakoroa Hia, Tsane Disugaski. My name is Bryan Waytula. I'm a Cherokee artist. It just seemed like when I started getting crayons and markers and things like that into my hands, and even playing in the dirt, sculpting, it's kind of just how I got started. And born in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, my mom and dad and my grandmother there in Tahlequah, very supportive in the arts. Just anything we could do to create. My mom learned basketry from my grandmother. She passed on to me a lot of the traditional ways. My dad was from Chicago, so came to Northeastern State to play basketball. And he was good, so I always wanted to kind of follow in his footsteps. Coming from a hardworking family, we didn't have a lot of money. So that was one of my main goals, was trying to either get to college through the arts or through athletics. I earned a scholarship on art to the University of Oklahoma because I earned my bachelor's of fine arts in visual communications and design. And I started substitute teaching while I was trying to freelance and find a job. So I was a certified educator, but I also wanted to coach. I really enjoyed basketball, and coaching, it just took a lot of hours. You don't get home until 11 o'clock at night some nights after game night. So I had to kind of cut out something, so I decided to put athletics aside and start to focus more on just the art education and then my own artwork. Like anything else where you're first starting out, you're trying to work your way up, trying to balance your time working and being professional as an educator and still trying to find time for your own artwork. And somewhere, I guess the balance starts to swing the other way. I'm building up my body of work. I did a competition, now I'm going to 2 or 3 other competitions while I'm still teaching. You're banking on yourself that someone's going to like your work enough to take it home and give you their hard-earned money. Got to a point where I had a following and starting to build up a reputation as an artist. My wife was very supportive, and we'd been working really hard to have my studio built where I could do these things. And when I sold a piece for $10,000, that's when my wife and I looked at ourselves and were like, let's just focus on going professional full-time and creating artwork full-time. When I did Cherokee Art Market, and that was really one of my first coming out shows. I had a nice body of work, different mediums and styles, which appealed to all kinds of collectors. I was awarded Best Division for a drawing in colored pencil that I did that people were like, is that a painting? So I wanted to be able to start doing some of these shows that my mom was competing in and showing her work in. It's been fun, going with mom to these shows. Just the memories I'm trying to make with her while I'm on the road. But going to Santa Fe, which is one of the largest and longest running Indian markets. The first award I probably got that really caught me off guard was when I got the Bill Rabbit Legacy Award. That one choked me up a little bit because I knew Bill before he passed away growing up. Obviously, I knew Tracy Rabbit, who's been a mentor to me as well. Cherokees, we've always been able to adapt to, new things coming in or coming on. What I want to do in my work is to, one, kind of educate and be a storyteller in my own right. So this one is going to be making its way onto a canvas, trying to just adapt to different mediums that can communicate with collectors or even educate others who may not be familiar with our heritage or culture in a contemporary way. And started working in a digital realm where I was starting to create an NFT, which is a non-fungible token. But when you right-click and copy something off the internet, you don't technically own that. It's kind of like a print, it's a copy. With an NFT, it's coded to where you actually own that piece. The NFT is more or less like you buying a digital one-of-one original piece of artwork. I want to use something that is identifiable. You know, I call them parodies because it is parody art. You look at it and you have to kind of do a double take, but then again, you're getting an educational message across. So my first one that I really experimented with, Wheaties. What does that word sound like? And, you know, treaties was the first thing that came to mind. Have you had yours today? From the Wheaties box, you know, I changed that to where have you honored yours today? You know, and then those sold out really quick, and I was just like, hey, I'm on to something. Then it just snowballs kind of into something else. Okay, what else can I do? What else can I put this on? You know, I think the Greeks never talked really about the person that passed. They just asked, did he have passion? And that's one thing I want people to remember me, is I was passionate about my artwork. I was a good person, and, you know, loved my family. And just tried to communicate people with my artwork, and hopefully that artwork will be something like my mom's baskets and my grandmother's baskets, that those Cherokee pieces will be around, you know, to communicate with people long after I'm gone.
Images of cowboys driving cattle up the Chisholm Trail are iconic symbols of the American West. In this Cherokee Almanac, we explore the man behind that historic trail, Cherokee trader and diplomat Jesse Chisholm.
Come along, boys, listen to my tale. I'll tell you my trouble on the old Chisholm Trail. Come a kai yuppie yuppie yay yuppie yay. Come a kai yuppie yuppie yay. $10 horse and a $40 saddle. I'm gonna cut them Texas cattle. Come a kai yuppie yuppie yay yuppie yay. Come a kai yuppie yuppie yay.
Prolific plainsman Jesse Chisholm was a master trader, interpreter, and peacemaker. He was instrumental in blazing a revolutionary cattle trail that ran from Texas through Indian Territory and on to the Kansas railways. Of Scottish and Cherokee descent, Chisholm was born in 1805 in the Old Cherokee Nation, present-day southeastern Tennessee.
Jesse's family were from back over there on the Hiwassee somewhere, and they were one of those early groups of people who agreed to come west. They wanted to have a more traditional Cherokee lifestyle rather than nation building like was going on within what became the Cherokee Nation in the east.
In the mid-1820s, a young Jesse Chisholm began working with traders near Fort Gibson in Indian Territory. By the 1830s, Fort Gibson had become a major trading hub. Chisholm was in the company of traders who spoke Osage, Creek, Spanish, and many other languages and trade dialects.
Jesse Chisholm worked as an interpreter. He spoke over 14 languages, and that was very instrumental in his success, not only being a trader, but also working with different groups of people in all kinds of capacities.
Today he would be considered a brilliant linguist and a diplomat. He spoke more dialects of the Plains tribes than anybody else, any white man or any other Indian on the continent probably.
Over the next 2 decades, Chisholm continued to interpret and trade throughout Texas and the Kansas and Indian territories. By 1860, he built a homestead with his wife in the Creek Nation and established trading posts throughout Indian Territory. Ever the diplomat, Chisholm did his best to remain neutral when Civil War allegiances were being forged, as he was personally and professionally loyal to parties on both sides of the conflict.
During the Civil War, Texas had sided with the Confederacy, and so all of their trade was cut off, and at the end of the war, they didn't have any money. And what they found was they had a lot of cattle. There was a need for cattle in the Northeast, and so they started moving cattle from South Texas up through Indian Territory into Kansas, where they were put on trains and then shipped either to St. Louis or Chicago up to the Northeast. Head of cattle would go for about $4 in South Texas, and they could sell it for about $40 when they got it up to Kansas. So they found a trail that was already well established, and that was a trail that Jesse Chisholm had used an awful lot. And they named the entire trail all the way from South Texas up to Abilene, Kansas, after him.
It is believed that over 3 million heads of cattle made their way to Kansas railways along the Chisholm Trail. While visiting Left Hand Spring near present-day Geary, Oklahoma, Jesse was served bear grease that had been tainted from being stored in a brass pot. The resulting food poisoning ended the Cherokee Trailblazer's life on March 4, 1868. A marker at what is presumed to be his final resting place includes the quote, "No one left his home cold or hungry."
Going to town to draw my money, going to town to see my honey. Come a kai yuppie yuppie yay yuppie yay, come a kai yuppie yuppie yay. Knees in the saddle and a seat in the sky. I'll quit punching cows in the grapevine by. Come a kai yuppie yuppie yay yuppie yay, come a kai.
Jalaki Idiwanihi. Let's talk Cherokee.
Hi, Sanas. What are you doing?
Osiyo Uwodia. Jalagi Iniwani's guesting.
Hawa.
Osta.
Sanas. Kadohadane.
Deji Suiska. Ejuli Hadini Sui.
Ni Ejula Dani Suiska.
Osta Nadana.
Sam Horsechief is a beloved running coach here in the Cherokee Nation, making a lasting impression on every student-athlete he coaches. But it turns out the way he challenges those kids comes from a very personal place, from a time when Sam himself needed a push.
Okay, you ready? Ready, go. When you put that suit on, you're running for Sequoia, you're running for natives everywhere. You're running for Cherokees, whatever tribe you are, you're running for them. They won 8 state championships in cross country. The boys won 6 and the girls won 2. And we won like 31 regional championships and about 150 track meets and cross-country meets through the years. You know, we've won a lot of them. I've been lucky. I got to coach 93 All-Staters here at Sequoia, and a lot of them ran right here on this course. Most every last one of them did. Feels a lot better going down this way because it's downhill. But going this way is a lot harder because they're going up that slope, but it's good for them running that hill. Well, this is my 35th track season right here this year. All right, you can rest up a little bit. I wasn't going to be a track coach. I didn't even plan on it. My mom was an art teacher here at Sequoia, and they said they were looking for somebody to help them out for track just for that season. She said for me to try it, and so that's what I did. And I've been here ever since that time, 1987. I was born in Dallas, Texas. My mom's from Sallisaw, and she's Cherokee, and my dad's Pawnee. He's from Pawnee, Oklahoma. And that's where I was born in Dallas because he had a job down there. And anyway, we started coming back to Oklahoma, and we lived different places. But eventually we moved to Muskogee, and I've lived there ever since. I live there now. That's where I grew up, right there in Muskogee, Oklahoma. My dad had a hard time with alcoholism, and you know, he had to grow up, you know, lots of times he wasn't there. He'd just be gone for weeks or months or even longer. So actually I kind of got used to him not being there sometimes, even though I missed him a lot. Wish he was there. Our mom took care of us, you know, and he's the one that got me to start running in the first place. Even though I like football and basketball, running was the last thing I tried. I just did it because he wanted me to do it. But even though I did like running, I just never ran on track team till 9th grade. And when I got out there and I found out right away I could run pretty good. And I got a medal the first race, and I was like, I like this. I thought it was something I could do really well, maybe more than anything. I think that's another thing that drove me so much, because lots of times I go to those races, I ran in the big school class, like 6A. There wasn't hardly any Indians in there. Here I was an anchor on the mile relay. Muskogee High, had long hair. I could run it. I could run with those guys. I could run with all those guys. I was really proud to be that, and that's why I trained so hard. You know, I didn't want to make Indians look good and be proud of something. By the time I was in 11th grade, that's the thing that happened was my dad passed away, and it really bothered me. And in a way, I mean, I know it did. It drove me because I always wanted to make him proud of me. And I ran all the time. I mean, I ran almost every day. From that time on till I got to college, I was running about every day. And then when I got to college, same thing. I kept going. But that's what happened. It was really an important thing to me, running is because it involves my dad. I always felt good after I ran. I really did. I tell you, I ran hard. It's almost like that pain. I mean, you get painful when you're running hard. It's almost like, well, I'm gonna see how much pain I can take all the time. I was always driving myself that way all the time. That's the other thing I like to do is my artwork. It kind of helps me relax things. I've always did. I could draw and paint before I even went to grade school because of my mom. That's the thing I've been started doing probably about the last 15 years. I do paintings for them when they graduate. I give out to them when they're seniors and they graduate, and I like doing that. I like doing that for them. That is one of the greatest things to see when they finally realize it. You see them, hey, I can be good at this. And I tell them that too. I said, I was always wishing I had a coach that could have helped me in high school. And so I'm here to help you. I'm telling you, I'm here to help you. You guys gotta want to do it though. And yes, it's not easy and it's hard, but you gotta be willing to do it. And I've been real fortunate. I got a lot of them that's been wanting to do it. So, and they kept on coming. And a lot of them are related to each other through the years, and they kept on coming. So it turned out really well.
It's just phenomenal how many lives this man has touched over the years. Coach, you deserve every bit of it. 30 years.
Yeah, you can always run. You always keep running. Put your extra miles in all the time. You can do that all the time. And the only one that's going to stop you is yourself, really. So just keep running as much as getting all. There's always something that kept driving me all the time. And then I look back at it, I know it was God. He's always pushing me, always saying, no, you're not done yet. Now I know it's all connected. It is. It's all connected.
We hope you enjoyed our show, and remember you can always watch entire episodes and share your favorite stories online at OsiyoTV. There is no Cherokee word for goodbye because we know we'll see you again. We say, Dodadago ha'i. Wado.